Hey everyone, Pedro here for Just Gaming Central once again, and today I'm here to talk to you about another big release, and this time it's Resident Evil Village. So Resident Evil came out last week and I was just able to beat the game like an hour ago, so I think I'm ready to talk to you about how I feel about my overall experience. And it might be a little bit controversial, I really don't know. I feel like a lot of people are liking it, some people are not enjoying it as much. I just want to give my side of the coin into this whole debate. So let's get into it and let's talk about the good in Resident Evil Village. And there's a lot of good in Resident Evil. The first thing that comes to my mind is obviously the environments and the atmosphere that the game conveys. With Resident Evil games, it's really important that you nail your locations and your surroundings and the whole vibe of the game itself. And I feel like Resident Evil Village is no different from its previous releases, because Resident Evil Village is perfect in that regard. I feel like the village itself is really cool. It works like a hub. I really enjoyed being there because every time you come back to the village, there's always something new to explore. There's always some new corner that you couldn't access and now you can. And the more you explore the village, the more rewards the game gives you, which is really cool. Maybe you haven't gone to this house, and this house is kind of populated with a lot of creatures, and you're kind of on the fence on going there because you might lose a lot of ammo or health. But if you go there and you manage to kill all of them and get whatever was in that house, it might come with a big reward. And I love that. I love when games reward players for risking literally their lives in the game to uncover whatever was behind those doors. I also really like the castle section, which is the vampire's castle. By far not only my favorite part of the game, but the one part I really felt like Resident Evil. It felt like they perfectly blended the action and the horror and the puzzle solving to a T. It was perfect. It was literally perfect. I love all the bosses that were in that section. There's about like I'll say 3 mini bosses and 1 big boss, and I think they all work perfectly well within the game. I thought they were really clever as well, because it's always, I like when games do different things with their bosses. It's not only just shooting. Like, you have to do this before you can shoot. I like when developers add something more to the bosses, so they don't become a bland just bullet hell, I guess, if you will. Lady D, I'm gonna butcher her name, so I'm not gonna say her name. I think she's by far one of the best parts of the game. The voice performance was great. She's really threatening. Every time she was on the game, I actually felt threatened, and it was scary because with these characters, they also have to nail character design, because half of the scare of the horror in these games are the characters themselves. And I feel, again, Resident Evil is no stranger to all this, and I feel Lady D will go down as one of the scariest, to some people I guess, characters in Resident Evil, and I really enjoyed her. The other, I guess, standout for me was Heisenberg. He's another villain, if you will. He's more in the third act of the game, and he was really fun. He was really different. He was kind of like this character that you kind of felt more relaxed about, but every time he entered, you were like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you my friend? Are you not my friend? And I like that. I like that feeling of whether you're gonna be betrayed or not by him, and that feeling of unease whenever he was around, because you didn't know what he was gonna do. I like that. I liked him. The actor who played him also did a perfect job. Other things that I enjoyed about Resident Evil, I guess the gun comeback, I thought it was good. It wasn't perfect, but it was never perfect in these type of games. They never aim to have the best gameplay when it comes to the guns and the shooting and everything, but I thought it was pretty decent. It was pretty good. That's mainly what good about the game for me, honestly. That comes to mind, I guess, now reviewing. Honestly, I'm doing this video because I kind of want to talk more about the bad than the good, because the bad really bothered me. So let's get on with the bad, because I do have a few things that I didn't like about Resident Evil Village, and things that I hope they fix in the coming games, because I'm becoming a huge fan of this franchise, because I love all the previous games, and I did enjoy this one. I think it's a good game. I just don't think it's an incredible game, which could have easily been. But let's get into the bad. For me, the first one that comes to mind is the weak story. The story is very, very weak. You spend the game is about 8 to 9 hours, and you spend 6 hours knowing jack shit of what's going on. Or where's your daughter? Why did Chris take your daughter? What's this village? Who's in this village? And you have all these questions. All these questions are set up in the first hour, and they don't get answered until like the last 2 hours. And when they get answered, some still are left to be answered, which is really weird. There's a lot of plot points that I feel like they weren't explored, or if they were explored, they were explored very quickly because the game was coming to an end, so they don't have as much time as they could have to flesh out some certain story points. And I felt like the story just ended up being something very I don't want to say cliched, something very shallow, because there's nothing behind it. And it sucks because Resident Evil Village has a lot of great characters, but their presence is so small that it ends up just being like feeling kind of wasted. Like Lady D, Heisenberg, the doll creature that I don't know the name. These are great characters, and they were scary and haunting characters that you could have used so much more. But the game clearly had a structure which was like, you get on this section, you end this section, you move on to another section. So they don't have a big presence because the structure of the game was made for them to just be in the game on that specific part. But it sucks because I liked a lot of these characters. It sucks that they didn't have enough time to be used more. It sucks that the game didn't take its time to set their story right and to set the events that were going to go down the entire game as well as they could have. And regarding story, I guess this is connected. I don't like Ethan Winters. Ethan Winters is not a good protagonist. I've said this before, I say it again, he's not a good protagonist. He doesn't have a personality. He's very bland. He reacts basically the same whenever anything happens. It's always cursing and saying, why is it happening to me? And cursing and more cursing. He doesn't have anything. He's just a vessel for us to experience this story, which I guess makes sense because we're playing this in first person. But I don't know. I want to feel something when it comes to Ethan. I want to feel like I have a connection. I want to feel empathy for him. And I don't. This is probably my last bad thing. Is Resident Evil Village is more action oriented than anything. And by that I mean the game kind of stepped away from its predecessors, because its predecessors like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 1 were more like I said a million times during this video, a blend of horror and puzzle solving and action, while Resident Evil Village, the first act, or I guess the first section, is very much in line with the Resident Evil franchise. The second section is mostly the same. It feels mostly Resident Evil-y. And then when you get to a certain part, it just becomes, to me, a big blockbuster game. And that's fine, but it's just not why I play Resident Evil. And specifically, the last entire act of the game becomes literally more of a Call of Duty game than a Resident Evil game. And it didn't work for me because I don't feel like Resident Evil has that strong of a gun gameplay, sorry, to carry its entire playthrough. It's not bad, but it's not something I will tell you, you gotta play this for the combat, because you don't play Resident Evil for the combat. It's an important part for sure, but it's not as good as any other thing in a Resident Evil game. The reason why it works is because it's implemented with everything that makes Resident Evil great. And I feel like Resident Evil Village was very much action oriented more than it was Resident Evil oriented, if that makes sense. So yeah, overall thoughts on Resident Evil Village. I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed live streaming it. I thought a lot of the sections of the game were very well done. I thought the environments and the creatures were really well designed. I thought the the puzzles were really well crafted and really clever. Honestly, some of them. I loved the hub of the village, but I didn't like that the games stepped away from what makes Resident Evil great, from what is traditional in a Resident Evil game. I feel like Resident Evil is one of those series that gained its name by its very original and different game structure, and I hoped Village was more in line with the games that came previously and not something more. I guess I'm gonna call it more popular because it clearly aims to get people that are not Resident Evil fans on board with Resident Evil games, which is fine. That's awesome. I just felt like there was something better here that was missed because they wanted to appeal to a more to a different audience, which is fine, but it didn't work for me, I guess. At least those specific parts. And like I said before, the story itself was very weak, and the character of Ethan Winters is a very weak protagonist. So for me, overall, it was still a nice experience, a fun experience, and I'm probably gonna give Resident Evil 8, 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10, a nice 7 out of 10. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to check us out on any other platform, links will be in the description. And if you have played Resident Evil 8, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know so we can get started with the conversation. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.